Good morning and welcome to the Really Helpful Club. And my name is Sarah Austin, and this is our In Conversation With series where we shine the spotlight on different members of our community, business leaders, thought leaders, business owners. And this is where we get to know them, hear about the inspiration behind the business. It's rather like, the expression peeling the layers of the onion, where we just understand what makes them tick, how they have the inspiration in the first place to start their business, what they've learned along the way. It's so fascinating hearing their different insights and learning some of the things that they've learned themselves in their own business along the way. So this morning, I'm going to be joined by Melissa Gage, and Melissa is the founder of SpareMyTime, and I can see that Melissa is coming on screen at any second, which is great. It never fails sort of wonders and amazement of technology when here we are on Instagram, and that we can do this sort of interview so everybody can watch it. And here she is. Good morning. Just marveling about the wonders of technology and Instagram, and how exciting it is that you can be in your house, I can be in mine, we can do this interview, and so many people can tune in and watch it. So Melissa Gage, morning, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me along.
Good, fantastic. Well, look, this is what I was just explaining. This is our In Conversation series. I love this because this is where we get to know you. This is where we get to know different people in our network, members, partners of Really Helpful Club, where we understand inspiration behind your business, what makes you tick. We've all gone through a lot of learning curves and curveballs, over this last couple of years. So some of the stuff you've learned, insights you've learned along the way, are just so valuable. So this is what this is all about. So this is about you. And I always start this off in the same way because, we're obviously going to sort of learn more about the business and what you do and stuff and things. But we want to kick off by learning more about you, Melissa, and your journey, because I know you've got a really great story to share here, is, what makes you you? How did you get to where you are? And where did it all start? Where's your... where did it all come from? And I often think that the journey is every bit as interesting as the destination. So tell us about Melissa.
Well, poor Sarah, I know that you've heard this story a few times before, but for anyone who can, who's interested. So my background is that I worked in the city for a long time, setting up teams. Actually, I set up two teams, ran two teams. My last one sort of being market leading what we did, which was marketing shares. It was in an investment bank. I absolutely love what I was doing. I was really, really lucky. I was given a lot of, autonomy to do what I want, which I think lots of people don't get in their job. So actually, in retrospect, I was incredibly lucky in my career. But when I had children, that sort of the common story, the common theme that a lot of female entrepreneurs have is that it wasn't so much that it no longer fitted or I didn't enjoy it. It was actually, I think, for me in particular, when I had children, I sort of unleashed this creativity for the first time in my career. I'd had a moment that I could stop and think what I really like to do, or maybe it was, I was spending time away from my children. Did I want to be doing this? At the same time, I sort of stopped learning. And one of the key themes of SpareMyTime for me is all about learning, all about developing new skills. And I just stopped learning. So all that kind of combination, I decided that I wanted to leave the city. I wanted to do something, yes, that afforded me the flexibility to do what I wanted to do, but also, I had been in entrepreneurial environments before and I wanted to do something myself. So I left, and in a very sort of investment bankery way, decided I'd set up a tech platform which connected local sort of private home services, plumbers, painters, gave them a louder voice so they could compete against the big boys, and connect them to people like I had been in my city job, who were really tight on time and just wanted to sort of click away at a computer. Fast forward a couple of years and lots of money invested, it was a moderate success, and that's probably being generous. And so we sort of added a telephone number, and it became very, very rapidly apparent that people didn't want this sort of slightly impersonal, quick and easy solution. They just wanted to pick up the phone and talk to someone. They wanted to have that dialogue of, this is what my problem is, what would you recommend? so we sort of pursued that route, and that kind of, this whole process took, you know, between, I left in 2016, we were sort of tinkering around with this in 2019. But at the same time, an amazing thing happened, which was that I was sucked into these small business circles, and I started learning from other small businesses, and realizing that some of the issues I had were not unique to me. You know, nothing that I experienced is in these, you know, very frustrating and upsetting, a lot of the time upsetting times, you know, experienced by lots and lots of other small businesses. And I kind of started to feel passionately about this audience and thinking, you know, what can I do to alleviate some of this? At the same time, my children went to school, and I found another audience that I feel very passionately about, and that is women, particularly mothers. And there were all these wonderful, bright women who were excluded from the workplace because, quite frankly, it's very, very hard to find a job that is, you know, 9 until 3, and you can take days off when your kid is ill. You know, it doesn't work. So by the end of 2019, I'd come up with this solution of, you know, I started providing admin actually to some supports to some small businesses, because I realized that one of the limiting factors for small business to be a success, and I could yak on for hours about the power of small business, is time and skills. And with those two solutions in your business, you can pretty much achieve anything. So a lot of these wonderful businesses were hitting glass ceilings because they lacked time and skills. And I had this audience of wonderful mothers who couldn't get back into the workplace, some of them really, really, really experienced. And I wanted to somehow put it together, but not in a freelancery, platformy way. I'd been there, done that, been stung really, really in a very unpleasant way. You know, I wanted something that created a community, that I could create a business that everybody felt nurtured. So I launched SpareMyTime virtual assistants in 2020, just before the COVID hit. We started with admin, we got whacked with homeschooling, decided to just pause for a bit, and, you know, get foundation in place for growth. And then we launched again in September. The rest is kind of history. So September 2020, we added bookkeeping, marketing. We now provide all different kind of marketing. And now 2.5 years later, I've got a team of 21. We've got about 50 clients. Everybody works virtually. You know, of the 21 on my team, 18 of them are mums working around the school run.
It's so interesting that thank you for sharing that, because you're right. So I've heard that before, but I think what is so interesting is how much of that will resonate with our audience. You know, whether it is the you know, how our lives, and I think particularly for women, although I'm always very careful about sort of, you know, trying to make this too sort of stereotypical or sort of narrow this into genders, as it were. But I do think women, we move in these chapters, and, you know, a lot of it is punctuated by care, whether it's care for a parent, care for a, you know, raising your family. You know, sometimes it can be punctuated by, you know, health challenges as well and stuff. But it says moving into chapters and recognizing when one chapter, as interesting or as good as it may have been for that part of your life, and it served that purpose beautifully, it is time to close that and move on to that next thing. Absolutely. And explore.
Absolutely. I mean, there are two really interesting points there. One of the things I've definitely learned over the last 2.5 years, whilst I set this up to keep mums in the workplace, I feel really, really, really strongly about this. There are actually so many people who are excluded from the workplace because of time. Yeah. You know, and we were in this a really unique time in the history of the workplace, that we can make it much more open. And, you know, whilst I started up this business to keep women in the workplace, you know, it rapidly is changing in dynamic to keep everyone in the workplace. So if you're a carer, you know, if it's hard for you to get to the office, you know, all these different things. I feel very passionately about those people who can and want to work should be allowed to, in whatever format that is. And we're trying to be very, very forward thinking in the way the infrastructure we have in our business to make that available to as many people as possible and share their wonderful skills and their knowledge and their experience. In terms of the different phases that you go through your life, I feel very strongly that change is hard for anyone, and recognizing that you need to change is even harder. And this is why people take so long to change job or change anything in their life. And what we really try and do here is trying to make that as easy as possible for everybody involved. You know, I just was talking to actually a new client now, had a new business call just then, and the chap I was talking to, wildly successful in his own personal career, but he he was very honest. He said, I find it really, really hard to delegate. I find this process of change, of taking it to a space where I have to let someone into my business that I like to do in the way that I've done it. I find it really, really hard. And a lot of what we do is trying to help people feel familiar and comfortable with whatever change that may be. If it's working, going from a corporate role into working with us virtually, if it's being, mother, coming back to work, if it's a client who's trying to let go a bit, change is hard. And as soon as you acknowledge that, but are not scared of it, and you feel supported in it, then it makes anything possible.
I completely agree. And it's that sort of, it's those skills that often can be, that you're talking about a male client, but often associated with women, where we want to be in control. We all want to be in control, and just releasing that, delegating that, it makes sense. And actually it's the biggest relief in the world when you've done it and it works. But getting to that point, it again is a journey. And I think we're all traveling on journeys at different points in our life. We're all going through certain transitions, all, certain chapters closing, new chapters opening. And another thing, so to pick up on something you were talking about at the beginning there, Melissa, was that desire to keep skilling, keep investing in yourself, keep learning. And we see this again over and over in the Really Help the Club community, where it is that desire to keep moving forward and knowing that you can't stand still. And you need to keep learning, for a variety of different reasons. It's to stay current, it's to stay employable, it's to keep invested in yourself. And, and so I think what you're doing is so enriching, because it's so helpful on the one side to your clients, but it's also, so empowering on the other side to the, to these people that you're giving opportunities to, to move forward in their lives. And I love this comment that's just come in. I hate staying still. I completely agree. And I think, something that we do all the time at Really Help the Club is it's all about innovation. It's all about moving forward. You've got to, you cannot stand still as a person, as a business, within an organization. You're always having to keep moving forward. Loving some of these comments that are coming through. I need to keep learning. Completely agree with you. So listen, just before we sort of move on to talk to Melissa a little bit more about SpareMyTime, I'm sure some of you will be clients or maybe working with SpareMyTime or thinking about it, have come across them, know Melissa perhaps in a personal capacity as well. This is your chance to pop a comment in the chat box. We love these comments because actually it's just interesting for us, makes my life easier. We hear what you want to hear about, but also actually you might have a question that you want to put to Melissa as well. And I know, Melissa, you love answering questions too. So this is your chance to challenge her and, pop something in there too. So don't hold back. That's what we love about these things. So you've kind of, talked a little bit about the inspiration for SpareMyTime, but I guess, what took it from, recognizing that need amongst, the community you were coming across at the school gate, as it were, to, help provide this service, to seeing the, what you could see was the need within the workplace as well, and amongst the business community. What was that trigger? What was the inspiration that made you go, okay, I'm going to do this?
Well, I mean, I was already doing certain things already. So, I always really try and make people aware that it wasn't like I left my job and I set this up the next day and then suddenly I had 50 clients and it was so easy. I had 3 years of really hard graft doing something, spending my savings, doing it wrong, learning the hard way, learning all about the software available, or learning about being a small business, going to like Dragon's Den type investor meetings, both presenting, being both sides of it. I've been both sides of that. I've been on the investor side, I've been on the presenter side, which is a really, really lucky place to be because I obviously understand both sides. I kind of went the hard way. And then I actually, when I came to this realization that there were these two groups, and we initially we're just going to provide admin because that's the easiest way to sort of give capacity, and I wanted to help as many people as I could. There's no point, I could fill my book with consultancy work if I wanted to. I could be back-to-back consultancy appointments if I wanted to, but that is not helping anyone apart from me and maybe my bank balance, and maybe my children probably. But you know what I mean, there's that's not really helping anyone. And it would have been much easier to stay in the city, if we're going to be honest. You know, if I was going to do that, I might as well stay in the city. So I think part of this sort of development was like trying to get to a point that I could feel proud about what I have spent my time doing, if that wasn't going to be looking after children. I wanted to, that kind of famous cliche, I wanted to get to a point that I could look back on my deathbed and go, oh, I did that, and if in so doing I could create a community. I love people, as you probably know. I love stories. I found that small businesses have amazing stories, and they're always challenging. No story is the same. And it was just ticking so many of my boxes. So what made me start, I think it was a gradual process over that 2019 we started playing with a bit of admin. We started looking at the results. Took on one client actually of who's a still client of ours now, and I look back at it, and that my financials head came in. I look back at the sustainability of it. That you can't make a difference in anyone's life if you don't have a sustainable business, and it just was a kind of gradual realization that this was the way that I wanted to go. Ironically, I'm using most of the skills that I used in the city. So when I deviated away from those, it turns out those guys who employed me back then actually knew what they were doing. I'm now just doing what I'm good at.
Yeah. And which actually, again, is a maturity, isn't it? It's a recognition of, well, what you like doing is probably what you're good at as well. And I guess it comes full circle to bring it back to SpareMyTime. And I know, as a very happy and very satisfied client of yours, is that you delegate the stuff that that you put at the top of your to-do list, and it gradually goes down because you don't like doing it, or you're not very good at it. And so actually that is one of the joys, I think, of running your own business. Is yes, you are tested, you're challenged, you have to explore and understand all those skills and perform all those different aspects of a business. But when you're in a position to start to outsource those things that you either don't look forward to, find challenging, find difficult, and just takes up too much of your time, it's a real joy because it allows you to really hone in on what you like to do. I want to come back to something you said just there about stories. I love that. I love the concept of stories, and that's what we're doing with this In Conversation series. This is about your story, hearing your story, hearing you share it. And what I think is so interesting about all the different people that I've interviewed so far, and you're the same, Melissa, is your story isn't complete yet. It's building all the time, and you're writing it, and it's developing. There's a new chapter that you've got that you're writing right now, but your story is being written, and you're in charge of that. And I love that because, as you say, each person's story is different. There's some similarities. There's some shared principles, some shared ethos, some shared goals and things. But your story is your unique. What makes you unique. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So just on the services. I mean, I guess think about it. If I'm a potential client of yours, give us a few examples of some of the stuff that you offer and how you've made a difference to those clients. So I could sort of picture myself as someone coming to you thinking, okay, look, I'm just being pulled in all sorts of directions. I've heard about this business, SpareMyTime. I know they do some of these different things. Help me with how you make a difference for people.
What does it then look like?
Yeah.
I mean, the black and white of it is we have three separate silos in the business, which is admin, bookkeeping, and marketing. So lots of different marketing services. And the process tends to be someone will come to me like that and say, I need some help. And they might be specific or they might not. And we have a conversation, and I have a conversation with everyone, and I'm really generous with my time on it. And I think it's really important. And I can look at it from a perspective of somebody who's seen a lot of small businesses, and somebody who, if anyone follows me on Insta, knows I'm slightly geeky about productivity. I'm geeky about systems. I love automations. I love tech. And I will listen to what they're saying, knowing what we have available to them, but also knowing what's available to them, in the kind of greater wide world. And we'll work out from there what it is that they actually need. And this can change over time. And this is why we've added these silos in SpareMyTime, because they might come to me saying, oh, I need someone to check my emails, or to book in my good one. I need someone to book in my meetings. And I can go, well, you know what, there's a piece of software for that. You know, why don't you just get an app? Yeah. Don't even really have to pay for it. We can show you how to do that. Don't pay us to do that for you unless you have very, very high profile clients who need kid gloves. You know, make it easy for yourself, save yourself some money. And then they're like, oh, well, you know, but I also need someone to help me raise my invoices. And I would like someone to write a blog post for me. And that's why we have these separate silos, because being a small business is really, really disconcerting. And I mentioned earlier, you know, it is anxiety inducing as well. The problem with being a small business owner or founder is that you're constantly learning, which is one of the great joys, but it's also one of the great stress points, because you're always playing to a weakness. You know, you might not know how to bookkeep, you might not know how to do SEO, you might not know how to write a blog. And none of these things, I didn't have a Scooby's how to do any of these things when I started. And your first point when you're looking to outsource is that you might go to a freelance. Now, freelancing is phenomenal. There are many, many benefits, and there's some many brilliant freelancers out there. However, you're not a recruitment agent, and you don't have the skills of recruitment. So there is a chance you might get it wrong. They might not have your sector experience. It might not be a personality match, whatever it might be, and it might go wrong. And you've paid them money, and that's your hard-earned cash that you've had to earn. And it becomes painful, and it becomes a negative experience. They could be the best freelancer in the world, but if you have any of these different areas that are wrong, it will not be fun. So what we try to do at SpareMyTime is have this really flexible, open environment. So we have this initial call. The way that our rates run is that we revisit them every month, and we do sort of hours utilization to make sure that what you're getting for you're paying. Otherwise, we change the kind of the packet of hours that you're on. But also, we try and give so much comfort that what tends to happen is our clients come to us for one thing and then go, God, I really need somebody to help me with X. I'm just going to speak to Melissa and see if this is something that they can do. And that is how it works, because it's this, we build up this wonderful relationship where, which is built on trust. I mean, it's obviously built on performance and all those other kind of things as well, but mostly that's trust. And that is one of the hardest things as a small business, is trust, because you are constantly playing to your weaknesses. You're constantly exhausted. You're working 24/7. And sometimes you just need a friend to be able to deliver what they say they're going to deliver, and be there when you send a WhatsApp going, you know, actually, I'm probably not allowed to swear, but swear word. How do I do this? And you've got someone there. So that's kind of what we work. It's an ongoing organic process to work out what you need as a small business. All small businesses go in cycles. You start up needing one thing. You might need insight, scope, support, whatever it might be as you go along. You'll pick up different services along the way. You know, you might start with admin, might go to bookkeeping, might go to marketing as you progress. And then you might fall off again, you know, because you might get someone in-house or something like that. Lots of change happens. All small businesses go in cycles that go around. But the key is that we are there every step of the way with access to these my wonderful team. You know, think 20 people at the moment, all with their rich and varied backgrounds and their knowledge that they're learning from all their portfolios of clients that they're working for. And that is the kind of core of SpareMyTime, is to make sure that you feel A, supported, B, it's intensely personal, C, you're not by yourself, and D, you've got access to this rich pool of knowledge.
It's so interesting there. Just so a couple of things you've said, which I want to pick up on, is that feeling absolutely as a business owner, is that just when you think you've nailed something, you've just climbed to the top of the mountain, and that feeling of sort of like self-congratulation, you're absolutely right. Along comes, you know, it's growth in your business, which presents, you know, it's a fantastic challenge to have, but you've got to be able to manage that. Or it's new things, new skills, new innovations, whether it's, you know, lovely, you know, social media or all these other things that we just have to, you know, they're always there to challenge us. So just when you think you've reached that peak and that, you know, that summit, and you can plant the flag and go, okay, I can just ever so slightly take my foot off the pedal, and, you know, the learning curve can perhaps just sort of ease off a bit, bang, it comes to challenge you again. And I think what you're offering is exactly what, small and medium-sized businesses need, and it's that collaborative community spirit that you would get perhaps in a larger corporate, but you can't have those structures as a small business, and maybe you need to come to someone like you that's staying current, that's got the most relevant latest skills to be able to service that.
Absolutely. And we grow as you grow, so we've got people on our client list, deck, family, whatever you want to call it, who are just solopreneurs, and we're helping them do the bits that they can't do. And that can take lots of different forms. At that stage, it's probably because they hate blog writing. Like we all know we need to have SEO optimized blogs, but what happens if you hate writing? It's got nothing to do with your skill set. So they might start with that. And then as their business grows, they need more capacity. They can build their infrastructure through us without the risk of recruitment. See, that is the key. So all of my team are my employees. We're paying for their, we're doing PAYE, we're doing pensions, we're doing holidays. We're an ethical business. All of our team, I hope, fingers crossed, love working with us. They have a really, really rich working life, but it means that you don't have to provide that to them. You can pay for the service, but get all the benefits of having the capacity and the skill sets, and like having a grade A city-worthy team there, but without having to find them, and pay all the horrible bits that you have to do when it comes down to payroll. And we've got clients who have started that stage, and then might have 5 of my team as their infrastructure support now. So that is the kind of the concept, and we've got some people we've got clients doing 20 hours a week with one of our VAs. We've got people who are doing 5 hours a month. There is absolutely, it's a no judgment zone. I would never presume to be arrogant enough to say that we understand every single business or what people are going through, but we try our hardest to learn, and we try our hardest to fit into your culture so that it feels like your team is not my team, is your team, and we're supporting you all along your growth, and all we want you to do is succeed.
Absolutely. And I think this is really coming across, but in a nutshell, what do you think makes you different? What is the number one USP of SpareMyTime?
We care.
Yeah.
Simple. Nothing else. We just genuinely, we care. Everything is personal. We really, really, really want you to go away and think, I'm so lucky to have come across them.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, what I want to do is just sort of pull away a little bit from SpareMyTime and sort of talk to you about Melissa as a business owner and entrepreneur. Now, look, there isn't a business owner, isn't a person in Milan that hasn't gone through a few challenges in the last 2-3 years. And, we're also sort of staring at another mountain of challenge. I guess, what have you done to adapt to those challenges and adapt to the changing needs of your clients?
I mean, the most obvious thing is obviously we've added services. All our services that we've been added have been client led. So we've started with admin, we added bookkeeping. I think the next thing we did was copywriting, which was blogs and newsletters. And then we added social media. Very reluctantly, I didn't want to add social media, but it was such a cause of real anxiety for our clients, and it would be remiss of us not to become as proficient as we possibly could. And then we had SEO and kind of Google Analytics, that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we always say is we're not experts. The team are incredibly proficient at what they do. We are not consultants. We're the guys, you get a consultant in, they tell you, give you all their amazing advice, and then we put it in place for you. And that's another key thing that we learned, which has made us sustainable, but also has made it comfortable for us, is that, people just need somebody to get stuff done. And that's where we are. We're sort of the best you'll find to get that stuff done, and we can also recommend you to the consultants, but we're not going to step into that ground. So I think the key answer, sorry, for someone's running the doorbell, it always happens. The key answer to that, I think, is we just keep changing. I'm not scared of change. We keep changing. I don't take it as failure if something doesn't work. I don't expect things to be successful straight away, and I do expect to change them. Small changes the whole entire time don't feel like a pivot. You you're just tweaking. Each time you take on a new project, you learn from it where you could have done better. And I kind of feel for everybody in these times of change, unless there's something radical like we all get in
Melissa, we've lost your sound, so we don't want to lose what you're saying here.
a parcel, and he's calling. I think you can see me through the window.
Do you know, we've had, this is going to make you laugh. So we've had, this is what I love about this series, is it's real life, running real businesses, but, you know, with stuff going on. And we've had, with one of my lovely interviewees, we had I think it was with Arabella Davis, Ocado arrived. And
I mean,
so we had to have the Ocado delivery. So look, if you want to go and take delivery at the front door,
fine. It's
all right by us.
I think the problem is he can see me through the window, so he can't understand why I'm not coming to the door. And
he's why you just look at your screen. Well, I think to me, I mean, to what is coming out here, and again, it's a very common trend to different people that we talk to, where they offer such a variety of different things across the directory at Really Helpful Club, that the common trend, I think, is taking the stress out of. And you are taking the stress out of getting stuff done. And as a business, you are constantly innovating, refreshing, learning yourselves so that you can continue to service your clients in that way. And therefore, that's, you know, how you respond to challenge, is to be able to help your clients, therefore respond to challenge too.
And be able to embrace that you're never going to know it all. You're never going to be the best in class, because there's always going to be someone, you know, 3 steps ahead of you, and there's always going to be someone 2 steps behind. You know, you just embrace it and embrace your own story. You know, don't it's so annoying, isn't it, when you see, you know, don't compare yourself to others, all that kind of stuff. Like, it almost is just easier just to put yourself in your own little silo, do what you think is best, be true to yourself, be true to those principles that you really believe in. And this is something I actually feel at the moment, that anyone watching this at a later date, it's not going to make sense, but we've just had the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. You know, it's so hard for small businesses to know what to do at this particular time, and there's no right and no wrong. And I feel that doing what you believe at this time, absolutely, but in any time, you will always look back at it and go, maybe I would have done something different, but at that particular time, that was what right. And at least you can look back and know that you were honest to yourself, and you followed, you know, that gut feeling of what you would be happy with. And I always judge it, you know, we've had lots of conversations about what we're going to do during this period. And actually, I've just gone back to what feels right for us as a British business. You know, we don't have to be selling through this period, so we've decided to go into mourning. I mean, obviously, I'm, you know, maintaining those kind of commitments I've already had to do this with you. But I think it's exactly the same with running your own business. Don't do anything that doesn't feel right, because inevitably it will be wrong for you. Don't do something that someone else is doing, because unless you can make it work for you, take inspiration. Absolutely, they've got a service that works. Have a look at it, how it could be appropriate to you, and take the bits of you and your personality and what you're good at and what makes you feel happy, and go with that. Because otherwise, you know, life's too short and it's too hard trying to be someone else.
I completely agree with that. And again, it comes back to, it's about living your story, and it's about helping your clients, helping your community, you know, helping the people that you are looking to service. And, you know, small business owners are so much part of that. It has to feel right. And I think, again, you know, sort of coming back to, you know, coming back to the loss we're feeling as a country, it's not just about what you feel right about, but it's respect for what others may be feeling too. And people will feel an entire range of emotions and connection, and you know, and it's important to have, you know, have wide, you know, reaching respect for everybody, I think. So thank you for sharing that. So listen, I mean, every time we have a chat, Melissa, or see you in person or see you on screen, I know you've been involved in a lot of things that we do at Really Help the Club, and we love the support that you give us. Is you're so positive, always strong, and I think your enthusiasm for what you do is infectious. But what do you think it is that you find the most rewarding aspect of running your business?
I mean, there's so many. So I mean, there's not one. But there's obviously I get to interact with people the whole time. I've got a fabulous team. I think that personally they're all amazing. They do things that blow my mind. You know, they're so clever. My clients, I get to the client. I mean, my client list literally. I look at it and I want to weep. They are so inspiring. These wonderful people who are doing insane things. You know, really insane things. You know, we've got a fabulous yarn shop in Bath. We've got wonderful, that's a yarn store. We've got Highland Hammer. You know, one of the most talented leather workers. Don't know what you call it. Sorry, New. I don't know what you call it. You know, she makes beautiful bags. We've got, you know, we've got somebody who's advising Obama's team on sustainability. You know, we literally have like such a scope of clients we work to, and I get to talk to these people. Well, I mean, that's insane. So I just feel enormously lucky to be, you know, in this situation where I get to do what I love, but I get to be part of the story of these phenomenal companies, phenomenal people's lives, but also I get to do it on my terms, and those terms are, you know, just being a nice human. You know, I get to run this company how I want, how I think the company should be done, which is, you know, approachability, friendship, you know, obviously excellent service, but you know, that's really secondary to all the other bits that sometimes we feel are being forgotten in society. And I get to embed my company in all these wonderful things, and we get to treat people fairly. And it turns out, you know, that all our clients treat us phenomenally because they want to be part of this story.
Thank you for sharing that. And now look, I know in a lot of the stuff that you do, and in your emails and your communications with clients and on social media, you share a huge amount about helping business owners with running their business, and as you've said, you know, around productivity and systems, etc. You know, again, I'm at risk of sort of unleashing a very long answer, but what advice would you give to someone starting a business?
I mean, obviously the sort of financial side of me is, you know, it's very clear. You've got to have enough cash. You know, you have to have enough cash to support yourself and your business. I've seen so many people have enough cash to support their business, but actually they ruin themselves. And nothing is worth that. You know, you have to have a sustainable model, and that is all down to cash. So I would do that. I mean, there's obviously loads of examples how I can give about the other things you have, but without the funding or the client base to make sure that you have cash flow, it's going to be really, really, really hard. Setting up a small business is a privilege because very, very few people can do it. So if you can do it on the side of a job until you've got enough money to be able to transfer over, then do it that way. But I've seen, you know, too many really sad stories of people having to give up their dreams because they haven't gone in prepared on the financial side, and it hasn't quite gone according to how they would have hoped, and that's just heartbreaking.
And it's the reality. It is what you're alluding to, is that you know, again, what we've talked about is the huge joy of running our own business and the challenges, but the challenges which come with great rewards as well and fulfillment. But you're absolutely right. The reality is that you need to be able to keep going and to be able to fund that business. And I think that is something, you know, some of the realities, that the sort of the harder, the harsher, the darker side of running our own business isn't necessarily always highlighted, because it's, you know, being an entrepreneur is perhaps wrapped up with glamour, excitement, you know, wealth creation, and it's not always like that. It's not a straight line. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a very, very important message. So look, I just want to wrap this up We normally take about half an hour over these calls, and we're on almost about 40 minutes, I think. So, I feel we could chat all day, Melissa. And I know that you've run workshops for us, and you've talked at our conferences and things, and it's just pure joy to hear you speak. So please come back and talk to us in a couple of years' time. But with a crystal ball in front of you, what would you, if we're chatting to you in a couple of years, and I hope it's sooner than that, is what do you think you'll be looking back saying, go, well, actually, back in 2022, this is what I was thinking, and this is what I've now taken the direction of the business. This is what I've done. What's your dream? What's your vision? And what are you looking forward to?
Well, I think the last 2.5 years we've had so much. We've grown super quick. We've added so many sets. We've changed. We've kind of loads of more people on the team and stuff. I don't think we're going to be dramatically different. We're obviously looking after more people, which is totally the objective. Would be having more people on the team, providing this wonderful kind of employment to many more people, and that's sort of more of the same would absolutely be what it is. One of the things that I have been sort of playing with for the last year, and actually I hope now that I'm outsourcing more of my own roles, I might be able to actually kick it off the ground. Is one of the things that always I find quite heartbreaking is when people come to us and say, I want to work with you guys. I really, this is what I want to do. And they're not at a point that they can afford our services. And I really, really want to be able to extend this wonderful knowledge base to people who aren't quite in the place that they want to dedicate. Because there is that whole point beforehand when you're learning desperately, you're sort of Googling, you're doing anything to try and get up to speed. So what we're hoping to do is launch something called the Learning Library, the SpareMyTime Learning Library. And that will be a sort of one-stop shop of the things that we have seen from our clients that are helpful, whether it's integrations that really will help you not cut corners, but do things more efficiently, or the importance of keeping good accounts and how to do that, little things like that, which will be affordable for everybody in that startup phase, because selfishly, we want you to get through that phase, and we want you to get to us the other side, because we want to help you grow. So that is probably going to be next on the agenda, but you might talk to me in 2 years' time and I still haven't done it, but that's
it's been a joy, absolute joy to talk to you. And thank you very much, everybody who's who's tuned in. We always say, these interviews are too good to keep to yourself. So look, we will be sharing this on the IGTV channel. We will then share it on our YouTube channel. We'll share it across all the other social media platforms. It'll be coming in a newsletter to you at some point as well. So if you're not already registered with Really Helpful Club or following us on social media, that's your homework. You need to be doing that. But also, this is too good to keep to yourselves. So what we want you to do is to share this onward to your followers, to your contacts, because it's so important. That's how we grow our community. That's how we grow Melissa's community. And we can make a difference to people who need to hear about this stuff. And so thank you so much for joining us. And as ever, it's been such a pleasure to learn from you, Melissa. And as ever, I just write down so much. It's like a learning journal, in itself. But for me, this is Melissa who gets stuff done, never stands still, that's for sure, and is so utterly true to yourself. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me along.
My pleasure.